listening to the new Arizona Real Estate Matters Show with your hosts, Phil Putnam and Josh Peacock. And now, here's Phil and Josh.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire West Title. I am your host, Phil Putnam, with Empire West Title. And sitting across from me week in and week out is my co-host, Josh Peacock. Josh, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome, Phil. I'm just mentally preparing myself with the upcoming weekend. This is going to be the weekend that I do major poop patrol in the backyard and some landscaping. So
that would be considered landscaping also,
well,
wouldn't it?
trust me, yeah. And I don't know which is going to be harder because I got two big labs.
Yeah.
Well,
and there could be a lot
they
of...
find all sorts of little places to go. So
exciting
weekend for me.
Do me a favor. If you need help, I know some people.
Yeah. I won't call
me.
you. Don't worry, I won't.
I have a dog, too, and I have to do the same thing
yeah.
week in and week out. And, it can be a little daunting.
A lot of fun. Well, it's going to be nice to just get away from real estate for
at least it's not August and it's hot and humid while you're doing
that's
it.
the
That
whole
would be,
idea.
then you'd be wearing a face mask or gas mask.
It's got to be done then too. That's the hard part. But so I enjoy it this time of year.
The weather's been beautiful. The weather's been beautiful. We had a little spike there that was, I don't know where that came from. But recently the weather's been beautiful. It's been, enjoy it while we can, because usually this time of year we're already creeping into the hundreds.
Yep.
The average, I think the average was around mid-April is when we usually start getting into the hundreds. On average.
And we had our President's Club Awards banquet last weekend in Tucson on Friday, and dang, there froze our butts off at night.
It was cold down there. Yeah. That first night on Friday night, it was cold. We were supposed to have an outside reception. They moved it inside.
Oh, God, no. Yeah.
It was a little cold and windy.
It was crazy.
And but it was nice. It was fun going down there.
Yeah, for Tucson,
to go to I agree with that. I went to Kitt Peak Observatory, though.
Okay.
Yeah, which is 7,000 feet above the desert floor, and you have to drive up that mountain. If you have any problem with heights.
Now, are you still a weather spotter for the National Weather Service?
I am.
Okay.
I am. It's with not much weather to speak of lately. I go outside. It's nice.
That's easy.
No, usually for us that do that kind of stuff, it's the monsoon season is when it's that's when we're real active as far as calling things into the weather service and stuff like that. But this time of year, we just enjoy the weather. That's for sure.
Good job. But yeah, and you know what? One of the things I wanted to kind of start off with is I have a lot of agents that have been requesting this, and it's just kind of some different ways to try and get the word out about their listings. So what we've done is we contacted Mike Orr over at the Cromford Reports and had him kind of pull up some data for us that kind of is just letting us know where are the states that the most people are moving from. What we do, or what I can do, is I can then target the real estate boards in those states, and we can market listings here in Arizona to those states that have heavy moves.
And so these states we're going to talk about, these are the most where people are moving from to here.
If this is just quite honestly, I believe this is just where they're moving from. I don't think we've got it down to Arizona.
Okay.
But this is what I have to work with, because it's still pretty interesting data. Obviously, and I'm just going to go through probably like the
I'm going to assume, just by looking at these numbers, I'm going to assume this is moving to Arizona.
Yes.
I really am.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Because the numbers would be, I think, much higher if they were just moving elsewhere.
Yep. So here we go. We'll run with that. I gotta read my intro on a little bit better. But number one, let's actually start at number 10. Number 10, we have 550 moves, and this is from 2017. And yes, you're right. It is to Arizona. We have 550 moves from New York. That makes up about 2.1% of the total moves last year. We have Michigan, which is 588. They're at number 9. Wisconsin, there were 739 people moving from Wisconsin to Arizona. Texas, we had 947 last year, 2017, moving from Texas to Arizona. Oregon, we had 1,046. Minnesota, we had 1,114, and that's at number 5. Number 4 is Illinois at 1,623. Number 3 is Colorado, my home state, with 1,880. I'm one of those, 18 years ago anyway. Washington State is 2,604, and the state where most people are moving from and to Arizona would be California, surprisingly, with 6,157.
This list is, there's some surprise. I'm surprised. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that California is the number one state where people are moving from to Arizona. I mean, we're right next door. They still have family over there. Let's move over to Arizona. It's only a short little drive to see family. There's a lot of people that work in California that actually live in Arizona.
Isn't that crazy?
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of the West Valley, Surprise, Goodyear, Buckeye, Avondale, Tolleson, a lot of the West Valley, there's a lot of people who actually live out there that commute to California because, they could drive over in a few, 5-6 hours. They spend the week there. They drive back.
It all kind of
They're home
depends
for
on the
weekend.
part of California.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, if you're Northern California.
Well, and it's interesting because I could see why. I mean, obviously, we just read on what last week showed that the median sales price for San Francisco median was $1.6 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a little too far north, but
It is
to be
a little
driving
too far
to.
north.
But anyway,
but the median sales price in Southern California is probably not that
not
far
much
off.
different. Yeah, so
Even if it was, let's say, 800,000, half of that.
but could you imagine working an 8-hour day and then getting in the car and driving 3 or 4 hours back? I mean,
Well,
I don't
think they actually drive every day.
Okay,
I
okay.
think what they do is they maybe stay with a relative or maybe even, I mean, think about it. Let's say you buy a $300,000 home in Arizona.
Yeah.
Or an $800,000 home in California.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'd rather buy a $300,000 home in Arizona.
and pay the extended
But
stay.
I get to
hotel.
work in
Yeah.
California, which has a higher, salary base.
Sure.
So I get a California salary. I'm living on an Arizona budget. I think I can afford the extended stay at $60 a night or whatever for, you're talking what, $300,
Yeah.
maybe $400 for the
Great.
week.
Yeah.
I mean, you would still save money doing that.
Yeah,
You know.
And if you're married or with kids, it gives you a week away from the family.
There's the other
right?
advantage.
Another
yeah,
advantage.
Exactly.
So,
One of the things that I was actually surprised is number 2 being Washington, and number 5 or 6 there being Oregon.
yeah.
Usually it's people from here that, matter of fact, my son just moved up to Seattle, but usually it's us going from the heat of the desert up to the nice cool weather up there. But maybe
The rain that gets them down here.
Well, yep, they
Oh,
get that.
too much rain
They
and
get the rain, and
crud.
there's that depression that you get maybe, and they say, move to Arizona, it's sunny. And
Yeah.
I have actually 2 brother-in-laws and both of my sister-in-laws who were married to those guys actually all lived up there one time, and actually one of my sister-in-laws actually got that. She was diagnosed with that
Yeah,
depression.
yeah.
And even though they live down here now, they say, Washington, Oregon is beautiful, but they would never move back. And a lot of it has to do just because of the fact that all of the sunshine. And that, we've talked about this. Have you ever in your life here, and I've been here 53 years, so I can say this with 100% certainty. Have you ever in the 18 years that you've lived here ever said, we've got plans for this weekend, we better check the weather?
Never.
No.
No.
You don't do that here.
No.
But in Washington, Oregon, you do.
Absolutely.
In other states, you do, but you never, you plan it and you expect it. And then if they say, oh, hey, we got rain this weekend, you're like, what? You're surprised.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be surprised because that almost every day is going to be beautiful. The other thing that kind of sort of also surprised me about this list is that Wisconsin and Minnesota and Illinois are not in the top maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Illinois is number 4, but I mean, walk around Phoenix, ask somebody where they're from. You're probably going to be, good odds, or you're going to find somebody from Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Illinois. That's for sure.
Well, let me tell you something. And the whole reason I'm bringing this up is that if you are a real estate agent, you have that listing that maybe it's a luxury listing that's been on the market for 380 days and it's just not moving. What's going to hurt? Let me help you with that. Let me create an e-flyer that will blast out to the real estate boards in Wisconsin, Minneapolis, San Diego, Seattle, those type of boards where the highest number of people are moving out of and to Arizona, and let's give it a shot.
Oh, absolutely.
So it
Yeah.
makes sense if
marketing's not just about marketing here locally.
Absolutely.
I mean, some people need to think outside of the box. If you're a
Totally
real estate
nationwide,
agent
yeah.
or even a loan officer, think about, there's tons of people. We were number 1. Maricopa County was number 1 last year in people coming from somewhere else. Didn't matter where they came from. Maricopa County was number 1. Don't just market to your, number 1 is market to your sphere of influence, and number 2 is farm and area. But right up there should be potentially market to
Cast a wider net.
outside.
Yeah,
Exactly.
cast a wider net, and you know what? It's not too expensive to do these blasts. So, yeah, just something to think of. And if you're interested in doing these, give me a call. 602-571-9044 is my phone number, and I'd love to help you with that.
Well, I tell you, that's a great idea, a great idea. So if you're an agent, give Josh a call or give any of our marketing reps a call, and they can help you out with that. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is that everybody's talking about prices going up, and they're going up fast. And let's put it into perspective. Yes, they are going up quickly, but we've talked about many, many numbers on this show. And one of the things that we talk about with a lot of the reports that you pull is the appreciation rates in area. And we are in a very healthy appreciation rate range where, we're anywhere from 8 to 12 or 15%, somewhere in there, depending on the area that you live in. But some areas are outperforming others, and that's normal. So I ran across an article that said the areas of Phoenix, these are zip codes of the Phoenix metropolitan area that have the fastest rising home prices.
This is good info right here.
Yeah. So here we go. Number one. Well, yeah, I think it's number one. They didn't put it 1 through 10 or whatever the case is, but zip code 85009.
Okay.
That is a west central area. It is a 29.2% jump from the year before.
That's
so
great.
that zip code at 29% appreciation rate.
85009. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next one is 85040. That is actually in South Phoenix. They had a jump from last year at 25%. Appreciation rate. So if you're looking to buy and make quick money, fast, which
Who is it?
say that tongue in cheek,
Yeah, who is it?
There's 2 zip codes there. Another one, 85004, downtown Phoenix.
Sure.
They had a 20% increase over last year.
Okay.
Paradise Valley at 85253 is the next one. Believe it or not, we're talking high dollar stuff here, which is kind of unusual that this zip code shows up. They had a 17% increase.
Wow.
One of the things I want to point out, we're going to talk about a couple more zip codes here. These are not outrageous. I mean, yes, they're high, but these are not outrageous appreciation rates. A lot of people, they say, there's another bubble coming. Trust me, I talk about this all the time. No, there's not another bubble coming in the foreseeable future. At 20%,
This is feathering the throttle.
Yeah, at 20, even these great areas at 20% over a 12-month period is not outrageous. Is it higher than normal? Yes, but it's not outrageous. 30, 40, 50% is outrageous. Next zip code is 85012. That is Uptown Phoenix. They had a 16.3% appreciation rate, and now we're starting to get into more healthier appreciation rates, only into the top after the top 5. Next one's 85015. That's Northwest Central Phoenix. They were at 15.7%. 85363, another West Valley city. They were at 15.4%.
That's Buckeye.
Then you've got Southwest Phoenix, 85043. They're also at around 15%. So, these numbers are not outrageous, but they're nice. They're nice because you can buy a home, and within a 12-month period, you can make a little money on your money. That's for sure. We've got a great show today. We have Brian Bailey. He is a loan officer with GSF Mortgage Corporation. He's our next guest, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire West Title. Our first guest today is Brian Bailey. He is a loan officer with GSF Mortgage Corporation. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
My name's Brian Bailey. I came from northern Minnesota back in 19...
See, right there.
Yeah, I know. You got it. You get a little bit of Minnesota.
I question those numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
Okay,
Brian, go ahead.
Brian.
Funny thing is my mom has actually just listed her home up in nice lakeshore property. She listed it this last week, and she's
moving here?
She's on her way
Yeah,
down.
good for you. You got your mom too. I got
Exactly.
my mom from Colorado who's on there too. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So went into the Air Force. Air Force thought it'd be funny to take a kid from the coldest place and -40 and put him in 126. So here I am.
That's awesome.
And apparently it must have fried my brain a bit. So.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed in your bio that, and thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That you were stationed at Luke, and there's a lot of people who do get deployed out here, sent out to Luke. They get their orders, and they end up at Luke Air Force Base, and they're from Minnesota, like, oh my God, I'm going to go to the heart of the desert. It's going to be, and they don't leave. Even if they get deployed somewhere else, they come back.
Yes.
It's crazy. I mean, it's a lot like, a lot of people, they come to Arizona for a certain reason, but you didn't have a choice. I mean, the military said, you're going to the desert.
Yeah, the funny thing was I was supposed to go to Idaho, and I got a call at my friend's house while I was home on leave after tech school saying, "Hey, guess what? You're going to sunny Phoenix, Arizona." I'm like, "No, I'm not."
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And, yes, I was.
Yeah,
Here I am.
okay. Here,
So,
gosh, that's
yeah.
interesting. Hey, tell our listeners a little bit about GSF Mortgage. Well, there's a lot of mortgage companies out there, and GSF, maybe is not the most common name, but I want to know a little bit more about them.
Yeah, I'm the only branch here, branch manager downtown. Speaking of the 85004 and 009, that's right in my backyard where my office is. And corporate headquarters are based out of Milwaukee. And from what I've seen in my market, I've worked for a number of companies here in the Valley, and with local processing underwriting, I think the biggest question people have is if it's not local, if it's not in your own office, then you lose some control. And what I've found is I actually have more control and more access to my staff than I ever have before.
Okay.
So don't run into any issues there. Great company. Midwest Values, again, coming from Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota, Wisconsin, people can make fun of each other and how they pronounce their O's versus Wisconsin versus Minnesota. I still say it's an O, not an A. But,
Okay.
hey, there you go.
And I know GSF is a Better Business Bureau, got an A+ rating, also is a 5-star lender with Zillow, which are good attributes to have.
Yes.
Yes.
USDA Platinum $1 million winner, Mortgage Executive Magazine, 50 best companies to work for, and the list goes on and on. I can't keep track of all the awards that they get.
Yeah.
And our president of the company, he as well, very tech savvy. That was another award I forgot to write down, but it was.
Well, speaking of tech savvy, one of the things I work with Brian, and one of the things that originally drew me to him was his understanding of IT and information technology, and I know your wife creates websites, and you're heavily involved with every aspect of social media and anything technology related. How does you implement all of this into your system, and tell our listeners a little bit how you work your business.
Well, it's a different market out there now. We're in an age where the social media has taken over. We're with marketing. People aren't sitting down and watching their 7 o'clock TV shows, and so with that comes the avenue of how are you going to get in front of these borrowers. We have different generations, the millennial generation that has their access and how they chimes in with them. We have the Reg Z, which is a very not Reg Z. Sorry,
You do have a Reg Z.
you have a Reg Z.
Gen.
And that's good that's the first thing. That pops up.
Yeah.
But no, the Gen Z,
Gen Z.
which is really interesting one. I'm really excited for them because I have a borrower right now. We're under contract. 19 years old. She's awesome. You know what I mean?
Great,
The credit score is awesome. I mean, there's a new generation coming. Not to say that the millennial generation is not good, but it has its challenges in the sense of getting in front of them and getting them to be as communicative as we need and such. And but it's very committed groups, and so it's been a lot of fun. So we're trying to use that tech savvy part to reach these new generations. Does it work for the reverse mortgage era?
No. Yeah.
Sometimes it does, because I think that's the fastest growing segment of Facebook is the elderly. So that works there. But so there's just if you don't change with the times, it's gonna change, and you can either sit back or do nothing.
Well, and let me ask you about that, because our biggest growing segment of our population is the baby boomers.
Baby boomers, yeah.
And these are people that I'm actually the very last year of the baby boomers, and my father actually was the very first year. So there's a 20-year span there from like 44 to 64. And as we get older now, myself and people, in and around my age group, we've embraced technology. But, my father gave him a smartphone, no, he still thinks it's buttons and the whole thing. Yeah. I can't see somebody like him embracing technology and doing stuff like that. But you're right. I mean, a lot of these people, you're right. A lot of the Facebook people are the people in that older, generation. But overall, I mean, you've seen them, I'm just afraid that we're alienating a group of people, with the technical advances.
Yeah, and that's where that's where the professionals come in. That's where the realtors come in and the lenders come in, and we're there to be that face. You can't just automate this. You can't just make an app and expect it to be the thing that it can walk people all the way through it. I mean, anybody here knows, anybody listening knows that's had a mortgage. It's not that easy. It's not that easy to just find that house. It's not that easy to know what's going on with current market trends.
When I bought a house 25 years ago, it's not the same?
No, a few things have changed.
Really?
A few things have changed.
I have this conversation with people all the time.
Yeah, Brian. And let's say you have someone come in there, because one of the things that, you'll have borrowers that get these pre-qual letters that aren't really worth the paper they're written on. I believe you have it's a Finance First. Tell our listeners a little bit about that program.
Yeah, so Finance First, it's a great product. It's probably my favorite product one of the things why I love this company so much was that you put together an application, you take a full app, you get a couple signatures, you have your credit report, you have whatever the underwriting system's asking for as far as pay stub, W-2. We're not back, we've kind of graduated away from needing all the tax returns and everything. Of course, some cases we do need those things, but it's more of a rarity than a norm. And we get a couple of those, get whatever is going to be needed for credit, for assets, for cash to close and all that, and then also for the income. And we submit that to underwriter within about 48 hours. I have a pre-approval, underwritten pre-approval. Then we just need to have someone like Gary find us the home, and then we're off and running. As soon as that appraisal comes in, we're off to get a clear to close.
So it's essentially a full approval subject to appraisal.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Exactly. And whatever conditions that the underwriter found that we need, we're collecting while the appraisal's happening.
Sure.
So
that's great.
We need to the importance of getting what you have, doing this for buyers. There's too many buyers out there that don't understand that this is vitally important, that you go through this process and you have that pre-approval in hand, such as this, not just that piece of paper that some of the big banks just may hand out. By calling you early and working through any issues or anything like that, when you hand them this pre-approval, it's pretty ironclad with the exception of maybe the appraisal.
Yes.
And it's so vital that they do that.
It's so vital that we even go a step further and offer, if they get under contract within 30 days of us submitting for the pre-approval, we'll pay for their appraisal.
That's awesome.
We're talking to Brian Bailey. He's the loan officer with GSF Mortgage Corporation. We're going to take a break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire West Title. We're talking to Brian Bailey. He is a loan officer with GSF Mortgage Corporation. And Josh, I know you had a question.
Well, Brian, I noticed in your bio, and we did talk a little bit about the fact that you are a veteran. And one of the programs that I think is specific to GSF, and maybe there's some other companies out there that have it, but your program, I believe, is called Serve and Support. What is that program all about?
Yeah, we give a special discount to folks such as EMTs, nurses, one of the underserved, the pilots and flight attendants, teachers, and of course firefighters and law enforcement. We have special programs set up for them to give them discount, just to thank them for their service, what they do for us each and every day.
Okay, and is it typically like a closing discount, or how does the discount work?
It's a discount based on the loan amount. We
Okay.
go in and give a discount according to that, and we can couple it with a Finance First deal as well.
Okay.
So that way they get the free appraisal and
Awesome.
big discount.
All right, just
comes off.
extending some, giving back.
It's giving
that's
back.
That's all there is to
awesome.
Exactly.
You guys also have, and this is big, because we're seeing a lot more people doing custom and semi-custom homes. You have a single close construction loan, correct?
Yes, both on the government side, and we just started our conventional. That's still even going to get sweeter as time goes. We're on a pilot program with Fannie Mae to start offering that. I won't go into too much detail because it's not active yet, but on the conventional side, we go up to about a 70% loan to value, 700 FICO. But as far as the USDA, the VA, the FHA, It's really nice. They get pre-approved. We get a dollar amount set up. We find them a builder, find them the land, and they can wrap it all up into one deal. They're not making any payments on the loan until they take ownership.
During the construction period, there is not a payment made on the
No
loan.
payment.
That's awesome.
Which is really one of the big things for building a home. You got to be able to carry the note on two different properties, or still paying your rent and then paying it on this one.
Sure.
We calculate that all in, and we're actually able to finance the closing costs in this particular product as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Many years ago, when I started in this industry, these programs didn't exist. I mean, you had a construction loan, and there was draws and the whole thing. And then after the construction loan, you were forced to either go to that lender or another lender to refinance out of that construction loan, because you had. I mean, once the construction loan was done, it was basically like, okay, you need to pay us now. Then they, some of the lenders said, okay, well, we'll do the construction loan, but then when you're done, then we'll go ahead and refinance you. So that became very popular, but you were still incurring two different sets of closing costs. The loans, I mean, it was like doing two different loans in a matter of just a couple of different, 3, 4, 5 months or whatever the case is. With this, it's just a one-time shot.
Yeah, back in the day when I worked at one of the big banks, I won't say the name, but because I don't want you to hold it against me. But back in that day, we did a land loan, but that was a 50% down. Again, could be cost prohibitive for some folks, especially in the government loan sector. And so, and like you said, they have to do two different loans. And when you come in, what if they don't qualify? What if something happens? Sure.
It happened. It happened. Yeah, a lot.
Exactly, a lot. So, and it's great. We can do it with stick-built house. We can do it with manufactured homes. We can do it with modular homes. So the problem right now is inventory. All right. Yeah. If you can't find a resale, let's build a new one.
And that's very, very important. And the fact that you do it with manufactured and modular homes is also very important, because there's a lot of people that may not, their budget may not allow for a custom home or a semi-custom home, but a double wide or a modular home on some land in the West Valley, which is very popular, the Buckeye Tonopah area, Wickenburg, Whitman, that area, that's very, very popular. So and when you mentioned the manufactured home thing, at one time, because I'd done a lot of those also back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was very few lenders that would lend on those, and they're kind of tricky how they do them. So the fact that you guys do them is great. That's just another door opening for somebody who's looking for something like that type of product.
Exactly. We got numerous ones. I mean, the values are different for different people. Some people want the big house in a certain neighborhood. Others just want land. They don't want to be sitting on top of their neighbors. So those type of people really like to spend the money on the land and then have a double wide manufactured. Modulars, I mean, these manufactured modulars are not the same.
Yeah,
as
they're amazing, and they're supposedly even more well built than a
Exactly.
stick built.
I've seen pictures of the insides of some of these things, and not knowing that it was a modular or a manufactured home. And then when somebody told me, I go, you got to be kidding me. I mean, they look like some big, beautiful stick-built homes.
Hey, Phil, I want to interrupt real quickly. I know that you set up an affinity group. Could you tell our listeners real quickly about that?
Well, just set something up for all the listeners of the Patriot that come in, give me a call, and we'll get you a discount. We got 0.25% of the loan amount, so say on a $200,000 loan, we'll do a $500 discount, as well as we can copy it up with the finance first and get your appraisal. So you're looking at some serious discounts there.
Give us your phone number.
Phone number is 480-420-7252. My email is Brian, BRIAN, @myloanbuddy.net. And look forward to hearing from any of you. Again, 480-420-7252.
That's Brian Bailey with GSF Mortgage Corporation. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire West Title. Our next guest is Carrie Hughes. She is a realtor with HomeSmart. Carrie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Privileged to be here.
And tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I guess I would be called like the Sunshine Girl. I am an Arizona native, third generation.
Which is a rarity.
I know, Josh.
Yeah, yes, it's a very much so.
Being third generation,
Third
I'm a
generation,
native,
yeah.
which is rare.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
But being a third generation native, you're talking before statehood.
I know.
Correct?
I know. Well, my grandmother was here, and then my mom, and then myself, and now I even have kids.
Was she like Betsy Ross? Did she sew the first Arizona flag?
Phil, you
Something
might
like
have
that?
been before statehood too, so you better watch it.
Me and Carl Hayden went to high school together.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I was at Central.
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't go to Carl. I went to Cortez High School. Okay. Yeah. So, and there weren't that many back then. I mean, there
No.
was just you had a handful in the Central Phoenix, a couple in the West Valley, and a few in the East Valley, and everybody knew. Now I see high school names like, where's that? What's that? I mean, it's crazy. You can't keep up with it.
Well, I went back to Central, and everything changed. It was totally not the same. And I grew up in the 85012, which is one of the
one of the
fastest
Zips.
growing cities. Yeah, the Zips.
See,
Okay,
how did
great.
that? I mean, we had no idea
That's
it would
awesome.
all tie in together like that.
Well, I was doing a CE class, a continuing education class, which is a marketing rep for any title company will tell you they got to do a lot of CE classes and lunch and learns. And at the beginning of every class, I get up and do my little dog and pony show about the great marketing that we provide and help our agents with. And the only buddy in the room that was listening was Carrie Hughes.
And I was listening intently.
Because she had, and we'll get into the listing a little bit later, but she had a listing that she needed stuff on immediately. That's how I met Carrie. We got everything out to her, did a great job. And so I thought, Carrie, let's have you on the show because you can tell everybody how great I am.
Josh, listen, he did more than a great job. So that weekend, I needed to do an open house. And that same day we talked, and I sent him over the MLS link, and he sent me a beautiful 4-page flyer.
What's amazing is I knew you had dogs, Labradors, but I didn't know he had ponies.
Yeah. Sure. Yes.
Should be on America's Got Talent.
America's Got Talent, yeah. Yeah, but anyway, it was very cool, and we got the opportunity to work together. But, one of the things, we see a lot of agents, a lot of different companies. Why HomeSmart?
You guys, I love it at HomeSmart. I've been there, first of all, an agent for 8 years, HomeSmart like the last 4, and it just has grown so much. They are the number 1 in the Southeast Valley. They say they sell a home every 1.7 minutes.
Wow.
So the 24/7 is their broker service. So anytime I can call up, and if I have any questions, they're there for me.
And Matt Widows, of course, is a great guy. I've only had the opportunity to meet him once or twice, but he's great. He's a
I
very nice
know.
guy. So,
I know.
And he is the brains behind HomeSmart.
Yeah.
So that's
Tech
great.
savvy too, so that's another good thing.
Absolutely.
They started that here in Arizona.
Yep.
And they've actually branched out into many states now, and they
Yes.
actually have HomeSmart International, I think.
Yes, in China.
In China.
Yes.
Interesting.
And Carrie, I know one thing that you, it's not that you limit yourself to, but you do specialize and you do have the special designation as a senior real estate expert, senior real estate specialist, I should say, an SRES designation. Tell our listeners what that entails. What's different about selling to seniors and about selling to anyone else?
Well, there's a lot of families now, and they might have a mom or dad, and they're older in their ages, and they need a realtor that specializes in that. And what that means is, not only do I help them find a new home, but sometimes they're a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Their kids are a part of making that decision.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have a nice home in Sun Lakes, then they'll go to the villas, then they usually go to the Renaissance, and I just help them through that process.
And it's more of a family type of transaction, right? Because you keep
It
the whole
is.
family involved, and that's one of the key things about being a good senior residential real estate specialist.
Well, one of the things also is that if you're dealing with a senior who's going to be moving into an adult community, buying a home in an adult community, it's a different animal than the regular residential resale market.
It is.
You're talking about values. Like, for example, during the crash, we didn't see values drop as much. Yes, they dropped, but not as much because people during that time period, you still had people retiring and still people moving out. So there was still a demand, for the adult communities. Working and living out in Surprise, I saw it firsthand where, I tell people, if you're looking down Bell Road to the west, the left-hand side is the normal market and the right-hand side is the adult communities, and they're completely different markets. And so the right-hand side of Bell Road was still going not as brisk as it was before, but it didn't drop as much as the other residential resale market. So you have your values are a little bit different. You have homes that are literally on the right side of Bell, not same floor plan, but same size as the one on the left-hand side, the residential, more money. I
Yeah.
mean, they can fetch more money per square foot in some of these communities. On top of that, you have some of the rec center fees or
Right.
the
HOA fees, yeah.
HOA fees, the capital preservation fees. Like Sun City, for example. Every buyer that moves in, it doesn't matter if it's an investment or you're going to live there. You're talking about like a $4,600 investment for every single buyer, and no exceptions either. Because believe me, I've had some of our buyers try to get that waived. $4,600. So you have to know these things. You have to know each one of those communities and what their financial impact is above and beyond just the purchase.
And also the client, a lot of times they like face-to-face. I would say 90%.
Sure.
So we're not texting. We're not even doing the emails. It is that face-to-face with the hard paperwork and wet signatures, and I love all that.
Yeah,
I
and you know
really
what's so
do.
great about it is too is quite honestly, you're awesome with your energy level is always up there, and it's perfect. And I think that it's received well with anyone that works with you.
Thank you. I love it. I love it so
yeah,
much. They
yeah.
become my friends really from the beginning all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Try to keep in touch with them.
And the baby boomers, they're making up for the largest majority of homes purchased and sold right now. They're the high, so and they're just at the beginning of the crescendo of this market going up, and more baby boomers getting into the market. So it's a great time. You're catching it.
Well,
Love
what you have is your millennials are a lot of them are first-time home buyers or second-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Your Gen Z or Gen X or whatever the heck those people, your Reg Z people.
Reg Z people. Yeah.
They're like most all first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Your baby boomers are people who are still moving up. The young side of the baby boomers are still moving up to bigger homes, but then you have the other side who are moving. They're downsizing. They're moving down. So it's definitely a different dynamic. Carrie, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and in your bullet points, you mentioned your philosophy, which is exceeding expectations. But one of the things that you put next to it, which I thought was very interesting, is that you said that everyone has low expectations. Explain that.
Well, just the low expectations of, first of all, exceeding the expectations is just coming alongside them, actually holding their hands. I want to make sure that they understand every step of the way, from the appraisal to the earnest money to, I call this a team, from the lender like Brian to the appraisal time and then the title company. So just making it an amazing experience. That is what I want to happen. That it's not a scary thing.
Yeah, and if you make it an amazing experience, I guarantee you are exceeding anybody's expectations, because usually when you go into purchasing a home, there's a little dread and hesitation.
Well, it goes like this. Like I say, when you're going to get married, you're all excited and I can't wait. And all of a sudden, towards the wedding day, you're like, where are those flowers at? And I can't believe so-and-so's coming. So I just want it to be super smooth and enjoyable.
Well, here's a question, and you'll probably get any real estate agent gets asked this, and I'm sorry for being trite, but do you prefer working with buyers or sellers? Do you have a preference?
Oh, my goodness. I like listings.
Yeah, listings.
I really do.
Yeah.
Why?
Not that she won't take buyers. Let's put that out there first.
Well, with
Yes.
listings, I can have 8 to 10 listings, but with a buyer, I'm going to be a little limited because of that quality time that I need to spend with them.
Yeah.
So I do both, but for sure I'll do a listing, and usually at that time they need me to find them a home. So that's how it's been very successful, and
yeah.
every year has been better than the next. So
And I see what you're saying, because if you had 8 or 9 listings, that would be a lot less labor intensive than working with 8 or 9 buyers.
Right.
Because in this market, especially in a certain price range of this market, you may have to show them a lot of property. If you're under 300,000, you may have to be showing them, not just 5, 6, 7, 8. You might have to show them 15, 20, 30 different properties. And on top of that, you may have to make multiple offers on multiple properties in order to get that property.
No, that's what I'm seeing now is all of a sudden, if there's a really nice property, we're going to have multiple offers. And so we have to be kind of unique on how to solidify and let my buyer win that.
Yeah, I have another question for you, and I know one of the things that you put in your bullet points, and I believe we've talked about it before, is that you do some door knocking, which is kind of an art, because in this day and age, it's 50-50 on how it can go. Do you? I mean, just getting in front of people sometimes is the best thing you can do, especially with a person like
I
your
love
own.
it, you guys. That's really how
Yeah.
I started, and I still do that, and I also do some dialing. But I am looking for somebody who's thinking about selling.
Yeah.
And what a perfect way is to knock on their door and introduce myself. It's like an appointment.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we talk about it all the time where, somebody, especially people who are borrowers or want to be borrowers, whether it be a refinance or buyer when they purchase, but they've already convinced themselves mentally. They haven't talked to anybody yet, but they've convinced themselves mentally that, you know what, there's no way, we don't have the down payment, or our FICO score is too low, or they've always got all these things that are going to keep them from being a buyer or a borrower. But all they have to do to find out that almost 100% of the time they can be a buyer or borrower is to pick up the phone.
But a lot of them won't pick up the phone, so she shows up at the door.
And
It's
that's
perfect.
exactly right. So what you're doing is you're picking up the phone
phone
for
for
them.
Yes.
By initiating that contact and putting their mind to rest and dispelling any of those myths and giving them the facts. And all of a sudden, they don't know it, but they were sitting on the couch watching House Hunters going, I wish I could be that person. You knock on the door, they walk up, and all of a sudden, within a short period of time, you can let them know you can be a buyer because they could be renting right now, throwing their money away.
That's right. And then that is the very first thing we do is we qualify them. So that's a great thing that Brian's here and making sure that they are qualified and then moving forward, getting them in the car or listing their home and all of that.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
yeah. And you've all heard horror stories. That's another thing we're working with buyers. Well, if they're working with Brian and a good reputable lender, then the pre-qualification is good. You're safe to put them in your car. But I'm sure
Absolutely.
that there are some bad stories out there with a borrower not being qualified and an agent spending weeks driving them around.
That's what we don't want to do.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
want to make sure that everybody's happy moving forward.
Going back to what I mentioned before, like you said, you mentioned that everyone has low expectations. Why do you think that? I mean, our market has evolved quite a bit, but has there really been that, not saying bad service or just inadequate service in the past where now people, they just, when you step up and you go, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and they go, wow, yeah, they had low expectations.
Mm-hmm. Well, just helping them through it too is keeping that high expectations, being there for them, calling them up all the time, making sure that they're aware of every little step and they're not wondering what the next thing is that's going to happen. And I let them know there are no surprises.
Answer their questions before they have their questions.
That's right.
If you tell people what to expect and you give them the time frame saying, okay, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, they're like, great, perfect. That's all I want to know. I want to know.
Hey, Carrie, I want to make sure we get this in there. I know you have a great listing in Lower Arcadia
Yes.
that you wanted to talk about real quickly. Tell our listeners a little about the listing.
Yeah, it is pretty unique, you guys, because it does have a casita in the back. So right around 40th Street and Camelback area, there's a casita.
And you can Airbnb that, or can you do that?
You can.
Okay.
You can Airbnb it.
Wow.
Matter of fact, that's what these sellers have done, and
Okay.
they made some pretty good money Airbnb it. It's completely booked all the way up until the middle of May.
Wow.
But I'm looking forward to getting this listing sold.
What do
'cause
we
it's
got? Bedrooms,
gorgeous.
baths on the main house. What's the size on that house? Is
The
it
main house is
it's a fourth?
2,600 square feet,
Yeah.
3-bedroom, just absolutely gorgeous. And
Right.
then, it says 1949 because the 1,100 square feet was the original, and then they built it out to about 2,600, and then the casita adds that to, so it's around 29.
And I can attest, I did the marketing on this. This property is gorgeous. So to tell our listeners, what is the address?
The address is 4015 East Flower
Okay.
Street.
in
So
Phoenix.
check it out, other realtors listening, or give me a call, and I'd be glad to set up a showing time. My number is 480-326-8990.
Give your number one more time, just in case
Yeah,
people
it's
didn't get it.
480-326-8990.
If you're a buyer or a seller looking to sell or buy a home, give Carrie a call. That's Carrie Hughes with HomeSmart. Carrie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Our other guest today was Brian Bailey. He is a loan officer with GSF Mortgage Corporation with a whole slew of mortgage products.
Excellent,
So if you're in the market of getting a loan or refinancing, give Brian a call as well. Josh, another great show.
Thanks, Phil.
And we will talk to you guys next week.